Hi, I'm Max.
And I'm Calvin.
Welcome to the Halfcourt College Ball podcast, where we create and debate weekly top 25 polls and argue about teams.
This week, we'll discuss some games from the past week and preview a few upcoming games. We'll get started with our top 10. We appreciate you listening.
All right, we're going to get started. I'll go first. I got still have Gonzaga at 1 this week.
I got Baylor at number 1 this week.
Yeah, actually we just get it out of the way. I got Baylor at 2.
Yeah, and I got Gonzaga at 2.
It's obviously consensus 1 and 2, but there's more of a debate on who can be 1.
Yeah, this is really the first time that Baylor has done anything that makes a case for them being the number 1 team in the country, because they've just been, as we've discussed on the past podcast, they've just basically been in the holding patterns for the last few weeks.
Yeah, no, they've just been beating teams that aren't even that much better than the teams Gonzaga was beating. They're just playing some of the bottom feed. I mean, obviously the Big 12 just has a lot of really good teams in it, but they finally beat Texas. But then Texas also lost to Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why I was going Gonzaga still. I still feel like some of Gonzaga's wins are holding up still. I mean, obviously Iowa lost twice.
Yeah, the Virginia win looks better than it did when they won it, though. The Iowa win obviously is still pretty good.
Yeah, they have. In my rank, or let's just go to the AP poll to talk about where their wins are. Obviously, it looks like Baylor's got the best win with Illinois.
Yeah,
and then
they also have wins over Texas Tech and Texas, which I think are Oklahoma too. I just think that Baylor has most of the best wins. After I'm not a huge fan. The Virginia win's nice, but I always feel I'm still a little bit skeptical about Virginia as an actual real team. They deserve to be ranked pretty highly just because they kind of haven't done much wrong.
Yeah.
But in terms of do I think Virginia's better than Iowa, or do I think Virginia's better than Texas or Texas Tech? I'm kind of iffy on that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel a lot of those teams also I'm very iffy on. Especially
Texas.
No, Iowa, man.
Iowa? I mean,
I have lost all faith in Iowa at this point.
Oh, well, that's Gonzaga win. I don't know,
I know. But, yeah, I mean, I guess I am kind of going against my point, but, yeah, they're just, I feel Gonzaga's handled also, scoring margin. All the teams that they've beaten have been, pretty big wins.
That's true.
The only close one was West Virginia, who also is another top team. Has Baylor played West Virginia yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, I feel that was either supposed to happen this week but canceled because of COVID, or
the TCU game was. They're West Virginia. They're doubled up in West Virginia. Oh wow! In the same week, they're playing West Virginia twice. We got the.
Are you sure it's not canceled? I think one of them might have been canceled.
It does. They usually it mentions if it's been canceled on this page. Maybe. You think they canceled that? It's a road and away. It seems or home and away. It seems
maybe.
Realistic.
Oh, maybe they just put them together for.
Just ran I don't know. Maybe they postponed it earlier. No, don't. No, I think this may have just been how it was scheduled. So they already have times for this game. They're both on ESPN, so I think this is legit.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just pull this up real quick. My browser was moving slowly.
So what is it at this point you're looking for Baylor? If Baylor, I mean, obviously Baylor has a crazy schedule coming up. They got Oklahoma, Texas Tech, West Virginia, Oklahoma State. That's 5 ranked teams in a row.
I think
Oklahoma State is probably but still.
I want to see them kill somebody.
I mean,
obviously they
just beat Texas by 14.
Yeah, but it hasn't been over 15. I feel
Oklahoma State by 15. Yeah, right.
Oklahoma State's not. I'm not gonna.
Oklahoma by 15.
Did they beat Oklahoma by 15?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that was
Illinois by 23.
Oh yeah, they got postponed.
No, 13. Illinois by 13.
I'm checking now. The second West Virginia game's postponed.
Oh, is it? That's
so maybe they postponed it and then moved it up to an earlier time because these teams couldn't play.
Maybe. I guess we'll see. But regardless, they're about to go through a bloodbath. At what point do you think, if they win all these games, if they keep winning, so say it happens this way.
If they win out, I think I'll have them.
If they win out, but it's not a point before that because they don't play. Oh wow, they played 3 teams. Oh my gosh, that is a crazy week. If they had played West Virginia twice that week, they have West Virginia twice and Oklahoma State that week.
Yeah, no, it looks like they're only playing 1 game.
Probably, but we'll see. And then so if this upcoming week they have Oklahoma and Texas Tech, is that enough for you or is that?
No, those games are postponed.
Are you sure?
Yep, positive.
Did their program get shut down again?
Yeah, they got shut down.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you're right.
postponed
Postponed to 3
games.
more games. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I might have them just sitting there. I'm not sure. It'll be interesting. At this point, I'm not ready because like Gonzaga's just like killed some teams. Like they killed UVA.
Yeah.
They won by 23. They scored 102 points on Kansas. Iowa, they dropped 99 points on. Their offense looks unstoppable.
Well, I do think it's hard to deny that they have the best offense in the league. They have so many threats, or at least like, and Ken Palm has Iowa at number 1. But in terms of like having a well-built, like well-rounded offense, I think Gonzaga like they have threats all over the floor with Timmy, Ai, Suggs,
It's
and
definitely
Kispert.
It's definitely boosted by the fact that like Luka Garza is the best player.
Yeah, exactly. Luka Garza is the best player. He's the best offensive player in the league. There's no real like argument about that at this point, and I think that's propping Iowa's offense up more than like Gonzaga, which is built around like basically every single player in their starting lineup.
It's also not a huge margin between Iowa and Gonzaga's offense.
Exactly. It's a point. It's over a point, which is a decent amount. But it's 1.5, but it's still not. Yeah, it's not huge. Either way, like Gonzaga definitely has the ability to like have these full-on shootouts, which we haven't really seen Baylor get into.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I haven't given a huge amount of thought to which team I think is going to win like the national championship this year.
Yeah. Also, I mean, Baylor like is more defensive than Gonzaga is.
Yeah.
So like it's like their games Gonzaga's games kind of just turn into shootouts and. But obviously, they're just like getting a lot more than these other teams are.
Yeah, I think I may still think Gonzaga is the better team. I just don't know if I think the resume Baylor has just like a wider spread quality of wins, and I don't think Gonzaga may have the slightly higher end wins with the wins over Iowa and Virginia.
Yep.
But I think just Baylor's like general.
Yeah, no, it was nice to see them win on the road by 14 against Texas.
Yeah, just like the general spread of consistently beating teams in the top 25, which Gonzaga hasn't really had to do as much.
Yep. All right. So should we move on to
number 3?
Yep. I had Michigan.
They just don't play basketball.
Yeah, no. The program like prematurely just said we're stopping all sports. I think it was for 2 weeks. So
they haven't played since January 22nd.
Yeah. It's
been
a while.
They're supposed to play this week. They're supposed to play Illinois. That should be a good game if it actually happens.
I'm pretty sure that one's also postponed. Yep, it's postponed, and then they're playing Wisconsin later in the week.
Oh God.
Yeah, they're playing Wisconsin on Sunday.
Well, I mean, as long as Michigan keeps avoiding playing basketball, they can stay at number 3 in the country.
So yeah, honestly, because of that, actually, I'll just say I got Ohio State at 4.
Yep, I got Ohio State at 4 also.
I see that you have like Michigan like on its own tier, and then Ohio State on its own tier. I actually had Michigan and Ohio State in the same tier. I thought it was closer than a lot of people think, mainly just because Michigan hasn't been playing basketball, and their best win is Wisconsin. Obviously, they killed Wisconsin, but we handled Wisconsin. Or we're an Ohio State podcast. If you couldn't tell by the logo or anything, but Michigan's best win is Wisconsin. Their second best win,
Purdue.
Yeah, Purdue.
On the road by 17. That's a good win.
Yeah, but Ohio State, we have beaten Illinois, Iowa, Rutgers twice.
Notably not Purdue, though.
Yeah, not Purdue. And I didn't say Illinois yet. We've beaten all those teams. I think it's a lot closer than a lot of people are saying.
I think that's fair. I think if Michigan maybe had, like...
a Northwestern type loss.
I mean, it's not even a Northwestern just like any loss. I think if Northwestern or Michigan had lost like any games this season that they won, obviously like some of these wins could be just completely.
But my problem is they're just not letting themselves have a chance to lose. They haven't done anything. They haven't played basketball.
True, that's fair. I mean,
and Ohio State's just looking better and better.
Yeah, I do. We're on the uptrend. I'm a little skeptical of us as the number 4 team in the country, as we'll get to a little bit, but I think it's fair to have them on the same plane. I just want to see. I don't know. Michigan just with one loss, even if it's only with 13 wins, that's still a decent amount of wins. They're like still back on games to us, but they're not like their winning percentage is so much higher. Like it's just.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but let me see 1 second. Yes, Michigan's 4-1 in quad one. We're 8-3.
Yep.
Obviously, we have more losses, but we just played more quad one teams.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, they're also doing well. It's not like Michigan like lacking in any of like the.
They didn't have like a good non-conference game.
That's
either.
true, and they went to overtime with Oakland, which is silly. But they're number 3 in net, number 4 in the simple rating system, number 3 in KenPom. They're just doing really well and all that, and they haven't really shown any flaws, even if they haven't been tested. Which I guess we're getting to the same point with Michigan where we got with Iowa, where we haven't seen Iowa like do much, and then we saw Iowa do stuff, and then they quickly have been slipping since then.
Also, just looking at Michigan right now, not one of the teams they've beaten I have ranked this week.
True. I do. I mean, the Purdue. You didn't rank Purdue.
No, they lost again this week. They have
that's
7
true.
losses.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean they were like on the edge. They were like I was considering them for the 25th spot, but Wisconsin I don't have ranked. I'm sick of Wisconsin. I don't think they're a good basketball team. Minnesota's fallen off. Northwestern has fallen off from when they were kind of relevant. There's not a good win on the schedule.
No,
I mean obviously they handily beat these teams, but Ohio State has beaten the top 3 teams other than Michigan in the conference. Well, actually, I don't even know. It's like Wisconsin. I really just don't like Wisconsin. Swept Rutgers. And just, yeah. I know obviously we got the losses, but I just don't love anything that Michigan's done.
Yeah, but they haven't done much that like hurts them, and obviously you have a number 3 anyway. So
I'm not saying Ohio State should be higher. I just think it's closer than like.
Did you actually consider putting Ohio State at number 3 though?
I did.
Okay,
I did.
There you go. Yeah. See, I just couldn't get there yet.
Yep. All right, so let's move
Speaking
to
of Ohio State.
another Big Ten team at 5. I got Illinois.
I guess we're just moving on past. Yeah, I guess.
I think we mentioned that we said.
Yeah, so we got Ohio State. We both have it at that 4.
Yeah, so I got Illinois at 5.
I also got Illinois at 5.
AP poll has Villanova. I got Villanova at 6. Do you also have them?
Yep, I got Villanova at 6.
Yeah, so we're in agreement with each other. The AP poll has Villanova higher. It's a very small margin. Illinois is back.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about this. I think they're one of the most fun teams to watch in the country. They're stacked at the top. They crushed Wisconsin this week, which was awesome.
They had so many opportunities to play teams, like at the beginning of the season, and they lost every single one of them. Like they just didn't have a good win, but they had like losses to Baylor, Missouri, Rutgers, Maryland's not so great. Ohio State, like you're like okay, like there's not like terrible losses, but now in 2 weeks they got wins over Iowa, on the road against Indiana, who's a lot better, and then they beat Wisconsin.
When they haven't played top 5 teams, they've only lost by 3.
Yeah,
I think that's a very strong point in their favor. They have the wins now. They have the win over Iowa that they got last week. They beat Wisconsin by 15. That's a solid. I know you don't like Wisconsin, but that's a pretty solid win.
Yeah, no, I'll give it to them.
I mean, they're not.
I feel like Wisconsin's kind of replaced Illinois as that team that's lost to a bunch of good teams but hasn't gotten the win against a good team.
Yeah, and Illinois, they hit their lowest point when they lost to us in Maryland, but they've just been cruising on back.
4-game win streak.
It's really disappointing we're not going to get that Michigan-Illinois game. That would have been fun.
Yeah, I think they have to push it back to the end of the season or fill it in somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get the Big Ten Conference champion, like the conference.
Yeah, no, that'll be fun. Right now,
and there's plenty of Big Ten teams that are like threats to win that. So
yeah, right now the top 4. So the guys getting the double bye would be Michigan, Illinois, Ohio State, and Wisconsin. But yeah, I think there's a lot of room for teams. It's like close at the top.
It's honestly like as long as you're not looking at Nebraska or Northwestern, I mean every team could win a game in this conference.
Penn State, they're 7-8, but they've like looked like a lot better of a team. They could go on a run.
And they've been beating good teams. Like Penn State, like who probably not a tournament team unless they go on a real run. Like, but they could all take They can just continue taking games off teams that don't want to be losing to Penn State.
Yeah, speaking of, Illinois started this 4-game winning streak by beating Penn State at home by 14. So.
Yeah, which is pretty solid given that Penn State can just be good some days.
All right, should we talk about why we had Villanova falling further than the poll did?
I
think I just had Illinois higher probably than the poll did, than like Villanova lower.
It's not that I have an issue with Villanova.
They should have dropped a lot further, but everyone else like around that area lost.
Yeah, I only had them drop 1. I have them at 5 last week. You had them at 3 last week. Okay.
Yep. The Texas Texas win is all they have, and that was 4 points on the road.
Yeah, but it's not looking as impressive as it was at one point.
They still haven't. They have not. This UConn game that they've been trying to play has been postponed twice.
Yep.
They still have to play Creighton twice.
And the Xavier game, which was supposed to be one of their credible wins, got postponed also.
Their best win is Texas. Their next best win is highly debatable. It's on the road against Seton Hall, probably.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's not even like I don't even think that is debatable. That's just how bad their wins are. Like it's on the road against Seton Hall, and then
honestly, it's at this point it's St. John's is a better team than Seton Hall. So the three best teams that they've played, they beat Texas by 4 on the road, lost at home to Virginia Tech, and lost at St. John's by 11. So they're 1-2 in their top 3 games. There's not too much that they've proven. Obviously, they sat out a lot of games for COVID.
Yep.
But, I mean, if they can just keep winning, they're going to keep going up. I feel like the Georgetown game yesterday was also kind of close.
Mm-hmm. Well, close till the end. They pulled away and won by 10, but they were losing at points in that game, and they were towards the end of the first half, and it was a close game.
It was just close down to the wire. They never put away Georgetown, who no one's excited about.
No. They've honestly barely played any teams with winning records at this point of the season. It's just it's bad. It's just there just is not much that to appreciate about Villanova.
It's kind of shocking. Everyone's just been Villanova's pretty good. They got the Texas win, and they're doing pretty well in the Big East. They just don't have anything.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah, I've been always a little bit skeptical about their they're just because of that. It's their entire season has been built off one win over Texas, but that was a 4-point win. It's just I don't know.
Yep. So number 7, I got
7. Yep.
Texas Tech.
I got Houston at number 7.
Would you like to start on why you put... I think we can just kind of argue about why we got one higher than the other.
Well, damn, they beat Our Lady of the Lake by 70. I think that's obviously a huge mark in their favor.
What's the team called? Old Lady?
Our Lady of the Lake. Obviously, this was a bad week for them. Their 70-point win is completely meaningless because Our Lady of the Lake... I couldn't figure out that they're either Division II or they're just some
I actually think they just went to the nearby church and played basketball.
I think that maybe they just found some nuns and they decided to play a quick game of 5v5 and put it in their record.
No, I really just I don't know how that got scheduled all of a sudden. Where in the world did that come from?
That's a very fair point. They lost to East Carolina this week, which is bad. And I don't know. They kind of fall into the same category. The reason I have Villanova and Houston right next to each other is basically they're kind of been the same team this year. The Texas Tech win is by 11. Probably is better than the win over Texas at this point by 4, even if it was on the road. The Boise State win is better than anything that Villanova has.
Obviously, we're our debates between Houston and Texas Tech. Obviously, Houston's got the head-to-head win.
That's true.
That was at home by 11, which is that's more than the home you usually give 3 points, especially in COVID. It's probably even less. Texas Tech is piling up wins at this point.
Yeah, they are.
Swept Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Texas on the road. LSU on the road. LSU's not as good anymore. They don't have too many good wins. Their losses, there's not one loss that you look and say, how did you lose that?
So I think the thing is, I think the Texas Tech win is better than any win Texas Tech has.
I think sweep in Oklahoma.
I mean, okay, but a sweep
Oklahoma on the road. I have Oklahoma in my top 10.
No, I like Oklahoma. I just I kind of like Oklahoma. I mean, yeah. But I still think that the sweep is cool and that's 2 good wins, but I think the Texas Tech win is still a single better win.
Yeah, but if it's the single better, but Oklahoma and actually at Texas, or I guess actually maybe even at Oklahoma's a better win than at Texas at this point. But so if we look at Houston's next best win, what are we talking?
Boise State.
Boise State's been losing a couple of games.
Yeah, I know.
We actually had this conversation earlier this week.
I'm not repping for their second best win. It's between that and SMU. This is not.
I'm just saying that
hey, they swept SMU
Okay, but they swept Oklahoma. Eastern Carolina had 1 win in the American Conference up until that point. In the American Conference.
And Texas Tech doesn't have
Tulsa,
any...
South Florida, Temple, UCF, Tulane, Cincinnati, Memphis, SMU, Wichita State, Houston. They had 1 win up until that point.
And Texas Tech doesn't have any bad losses either. Basically, all their teams are ranked or fringe ranked at least.
Yep.
Are they? Yeah. I mean, I think it's very fair that Kansas is their only non-ranked loss, but Kansas is probably may get ranked again this season. We'll see.
Yeah, they're still a tournament team.
Yeah. Well, they're certainly
Eastern Carolina and Tulane.
Yeah.
We can't keep. Or sorry, not Tulane. Tulsa. We can't keep forgetting this isn't the first time they lost the game they should have won.
Yeah, Tulsa. I mean, that was a 1-point loss on the road. That's a little bit less bad. The Eastern Carolina.
I bet if we look at it, they're favored by over 10 points probably.
Maybe. I don't know. 10. Yeah, maybe about that.
The line was 8.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
No, it's very fair. There's not a ton to go with, to appreciate about Houston at this point, just because they haven't really played a ton of great teams. They do better in net and they're 5th in net, while Texas Tech is 12th. I mean they're 8th in simple rating system, while Texas Tech is 18th. So they beat them in all those categories. I think their win, while their opportunities that they've had to beat good teams, they've beaten them. So I believe that Houston is they're not a team where I'm I don't who can they even beat at this point.
Interesting enough, both of us didn't have these two teams in the same tier with each other.
Yeah,
we both had the team that we're picking for 7 with Illinois and Villanova, and then the next teams with the people behind them. Texas Tech hasn't screwed up too bad.
I think what it came down to for me was I was looking I feel like Villanova and Houston's resumes look almost identical at this point, so it really was just I slightly prefer Villanova, but
I have St. John's ranked this week.
Really?
In my last spot. I mean, I might be stretching the narrative a little bit on that one, but they're a tournament team.
They're 13-7 in the Big East.
Yeah, they're.
You didn't rank Purdue because they have 7 losses in the Big Ten, but you're willing to rank St. John's with 7 losses in the Big East?
They have better wins.
Okay, forget it. We could, I guess, come back to that, but okay.
So yeah, let's move on. That was. I mean, I'm not. I had them in the same tier. I just was getting hype on St. John's. We'll talk about that later, maybe.
Number 8, we got.
I got Virginia.
Oh no!
Wait, 8.
Yeah, we just have them flip basically.
Yeah, I got Houston and you got
Texas Tech.
Yeah. So
moving on to number 9.
I got Virginia.
I got Alabama.
Yeah. So should we talk about Alabama now, or do you want to talk about them in later?
Do you want to just start off with Virginia, and then we'll move on to Alabama, Oklahoma sort of thing?
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Actually, let's just get out of the way. I'd say that I got Oklahoma at 10, and you got.
I mean, I got Virginia at 10.
Yeah, so let's just talk about Virginia because we're pretty close.
Yeah, we mostly agree with Virginia. So.
Virginia is doing well in metrics. They're 6th in net. I think they're Ken Palm's top 10. My computer is chugging.
They're 9th in Ken Palm, and they are 12th in simple rating system.
Yeah, so they're doing what they need to do.
They're just kind of plugging along. That's kind of the I don't feel super attached to them. Their best win is Clemson this season, which is I mean, I'm always willing to see where Virginia ends up just because I trust their team building and I trust Tony Bennett to a great degree, but there's just not a huge amount to like about Virginia. I mean, they're still a top 10 team. They had a fine week by beating Pittsburgh, who's maybe a tournament team if things go well.
Yeah, no, Pittsburgh's definitely been looking better.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, Virginia's got a couple of wins that against tournament teams. I think what's their best looking Clemson right now?
Yeah, it's definitely Clemson, and that was, to be fair, a 35-point win.
Yeah, no, they handled Clemson. They made Clemson look horrible.
Yeah, they completely trashed Clemson. But after that, you just it's Syracuse is their second best win or something like that, or Notre. There's just nothing or Georgia Tech maybe, or it's just who knows. Maybe the win over Pittsburgh they just had is up there in terms of their wins.
Yeah, definitely. There's just a lot of teams are losing, and Virginia was winning at the time. And I already had Virginia pretty high, so I'm not gonna drop them when everyone else ahead of them is losing. I had Virginia moving up, only 2 spots, so I don't feel like I went crazy. I had Texas Tech hopping them. I just didn't hate Virginia. I don't hate Virginia right now. I don't love them.
I didn't have anyone jump them, but I was willing to move them up based on the teams like Iowa, Tennessee, Texas all losing.
Yeah, Virginia's number 9 in the AP poll, so
it's not we're
exactly where I have them.
Yeah,
so that means I'm right. But let's see. I'm gonna look at their schedule. Yeah, they
There's just
have
nothing
losses
there.
against Gonzaga,
Oh, yeah.
the top 2 team. They have a loss against Virginia Tech, who's still ranked.
And then the San Francisco game is obviously.
Yeah, San
still
Francisco
weighing on
loss
them.
is bad, but obviously
1 point loss, neutral court.
and you have Alabama ahead of them. Alabama has lost kind of like that as well. So,
Yeah.
there's just the teams around them also have Houston kind of has a similar loss. There's just
I think Virginia, definitely falls into the same category as Villanova and Houston, but they don't even have a win on the caliber of Villanova or Houston, where they have the Texas team. Both those teams beat the Texas teams.
Yeah.
And Virginia just has nothing like that, and they have an additional loss to. I mean, 2 good teams, but still.
All right, so I say we start debating our the last or the only team that we argue about or have different in our top 10.
So this is honestly one of the biggest gaps we have. So I have Alabama at 9, you have Oklahoma at 10, and then I have Oklahoma at 18, and you have Alabama at 15.
Yeah, I'm curious why you had Oklahoma slipping as far as you had them slip.
I mean,
You had them drop from the 13th to the 18th, where they only lost on the road against Texas Tech.
yeah, they lost. It was a 5-point loss on the road against Texas Tech. I just think part of the issue was I wasn't that high on Oklahoma going into it, and so and they felt I think Virginia, by just virtue of not losing, moves up.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you on that. I have Virginia higher than them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. I was already kind of skeptical about Oklahoma. Their wins are their biggest win is the Alabama win, which is nice.
Head to head.
Well,
without
yeah,
their
okay.
top 2 best players.
Okay, but wait, was it who were they? I thought it was just
I saw something recently that said top 2.
okay. I thought
Maybe
it
it
was
was
just Austin
some-
Reeves, but I mean, anyway,
Oklahoma's losses are to, I mean, obviously Kansas is not ranked anymore, but other than that, the teams that I have ranked in my top 25, Xavier on the road, Texas Tech, they got swept by Texas Tech on the series, and then Baylor. I mean, no one expected them to win that. They've beaten Kansas, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Texas, Alabama head to head. They got that's 3 top 15 wins. And Alabama, they have 1.
yeah, I think my biggest issue with Oklahoma is they're top 20 net, but they're not top 20 in KenPom or the simple rating system.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alabama might have some better offensive players, and actually their defense is ranked number 2. I don't know how much I agree with that. I don't know how because they let up 90 points to Auburn, they let up 73 to Mississippi State.
Are you talking about
Alabama?
Yeah.
They let up 74 to UNLV. They let up 80 points to Furman early in the season. They barely beat Furman.
I mean, that's fair.
I think Alabama at this point, they're 15-5. Oklahoma's 12-5. Doesn't have as many wins, but of the teams that I've ranked, did I sneak Florida in? Oh, I guess I did sneak Florida in at the end. So they have 2 top 25 wins this season.
Oklahoma.
No, Alabama.
Oh, Alabama.
Oklahoma has 5.
Yeah, that's fair.
5-3.
That's fair. I think you can make an argument just based on their wins that they're pretty similar. But when I get there to that point, I kind of defer to how their stats are going, and Oklahoma just doesn't look great in any of the advanced stats.
Yeah, but I feel if you look at wins and you're all right, they're kind of close in wins, maybe Oklahoma has the edge. Then you go to their losses. Alabama's losses are worse. They lost to Stanford at home by 18 points? They lost to Clemson at home by 8 points. These are all at home. They lost to Western Kentucky at home by 2 points. They're both looking at wins and losses. I couldn't put Alabama ahead of Oklahoma, especially, and also the head-to-head. I know the game was in Oklahoma, but still, I don't think wins and losses favor Oklahoma in my opinion.
That's fair. I think part of the issue I have is that their wins are tight, like a 1-point win over Texas. They got a 4-point win over West Virginia, a 5-point win over Alabama. They haven't really brought
Yeah, but Alabama, obviously they handled Tennessee, beat them by 8. They beat Florida by 15. Those are their 2 best
They
wins.
beat Arkansas by 31.
Yeah, they've beaten some of the best teams they played by a good amount.
LSU by 30.
But they only beat
LSU again by 18.
Yeah, but they only beat Furman by 3. I just don't. They beat Auburn by 4.
Yeah, and I think Alabama's also a team more on the rise. While I'm like a little like I think Oklahoma's just kind of been doing what they're like.
Alabama was ahead or was relevant before Oklahoma was though. Alabama got ranked before Oklahoma.
That's what I think. Alabama. That's part.
Also, they barely.
Alabama's like the better team.
2 weeks ago, Alabama played Kentucky, and that game was down to the wire until Alabama pulled away.
I mean, then it turned into an 11-point game, which is
I know, but that's
plenty.
Everyone knows basketball. College basketball can blow up the score at the end of the game.
But even an 11, it's not like it was just a 7 or I can see that for a few points, but 11 points that game was never really in danger.
Yeah.
For them.
Look at the AP poll. They actually disagree with both of us. They don't have either of those teams in the top 10. They have them at 11 and 12, kind of close. The poll has Alabama ahead of Oklahoma. Alabama they both took a loss to what are now top 10 teams in the AP poll this week, and obviously Alabama had a better win this week, beating LSU, and I think Oklahoma probably played a Kansas State or something like that. No, Iowa State. Sorry, I picked the wrong bottom feeder. So, yeah, obviously it might look like a better week, but for Alabama, I just personally like Oklahoma. And Alabama just kind of looked like they choked it out against Missouri. So I wasn't, especially watching that game recently, kind of left a recency bias of that just looked bad.
I think Missouri's such a weird team.
Seriously, I feel like we might have to talk to about them in a bit.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, they got ranked 10th this week, which I mean
they're 13 and 3.
Yeah,
I think,
and all their losses are to good teams too. It's just it's very they're just.
But they also have some really good wins. It's incredible.
They have some really good wins. They still just aren't doing that well in any of the metrics that used to measure teams really.
Yeah, so they beat Tennessee on the road, but they also lost to Tennessee. They just beat Alabama at home. They beat Arkansas handily on the road, and they beat Illinois. That's going to be their big win for the season.
Yeah, but they're 24th in net, 28th in simple rating system. It's just weird. It's
also another reason I couldn't jump. I have Missouri at 1 second. I have Missouri at 14. You have them at 15. AP poll has them at 10.
Yep.
I don't know about you, but a reason I didn't fly Missouri up there after they beat Alabama was I remember keeping track of that Kentucky-Missouri game. That was really close. That game was wildly close.
It was only a 5-point win. They went to overtime against TCU. I mean...
Yeah, no, they just haven't looked great, and then they obviously beat Alabama.
Crushed by Mississippi State. It's just they're a weird team. And then a lot of their good wins are really close games. Illinois by 3, Tennessee, I mean, they beat their best win is the Tennessee win by 9, but then besides that, it's just 3-point wins over Alabama and Illinois. It's just.
But yeah.
Those are really good wins too. So yeah. It's I don't know.
I just don't know if I can have them top 10 at this point.
Yeah.
Top 15 for sure.
Yeah,
no question.
I just don't trust Missouri to be a consistent team. Going.
They might be the weirdest team in the weirdest conference. Yep. I mean, Tennessee might be pushing for that as well. I don't know. Tennessee's also an anomaly. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. But I think we'll probably take a break, and we'll come back and talk about the next 25, the 11 through 25. All right, we're going to talk about our next 25, or the next 15. We're going to start with probably our biggest difference of teams we both ranked.
Outside of the Oklahoma, Alabama thing.
Yeah, obviously. Is Tennessee.
Yep, Tennessee.
I had them at 17. You had them at 12. I think it's always fun to point out where the AP poll had them as well.
Yep.
Let me pull that up as well. Tennessee on the AP poll was ranked
16.
So closer to where I had them ranked.
Yes, yeah, basically at the same spot you did. So yeah, I guess this puts it on to me to explain why I
get a little defense.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously this was not a good week. They lost to Ole Miss. That's not good. That's very not good. And then they beat Kentucky by 11. It was a little bit of a closer game than that, but they. I
feel like Kentucky plays people down to the wire a lot and then falls apart.
Calipari's just going to have an aneurysm at one point this season. But yeah, so Tennessee I mean, I definitely think they deserve to fall. I had them at 9 the prior week, which was higher than the AP poll had them then.
Yeah, so I think you probably just didn't drop them, or you don't have them as low because you probably had them higher than I did last time.
I dropped them about 3 spots, which I think they got dropped about 3 spots anyway.
Actually, I had Tennessee at 10, so I dropped them a lot this week.
So you did drop them a decent amount, but I think me and the AP poll agree more on the drop, because I think we both had them at 3 spots drop, and you... anyway, but that's not really important. So Tennessee has their first bad loss of the season.
5 in the AP poll.
Oh, they've dropped 5 as well. Oh, I thought they were kind of low. Okay, anyway, they had their first bad loss of the season. Ole Miss by 2 on the road is not a horrible loss, though. Their wins so far this season aren't all that compelling either.
Missouri's the only team ranked in the top 25 right now.
Colorado's 26th, though. So
I know,
like,
Colorado's, yeah. Colorado's close.
I'm not saying, and Kansas they beat by 19. So they have, like, some pretty solid wins. They just don't have, like, the big, like...
Yeah, just like always, like, my argument for, like, having, like, a team so high is you got to look at the teams below them. Like, what's your reason for having them higher than this team? Like, you got Texas. You have Texas right below them. What has Tennessee done that Texas hasn't?
I mean, yeah, Texas has better wins so far this season, and obviously Texas, like...
They don't have a Ole Miss type loss.
Yeah, and then they slipped this week, but they're slipped off a loss to Baylor, which obviously...
And then, like, the Oklahoma State
loss.
Double overtime.
Double overtime, 1 point loss to Oklahoma. Texas really has suffered a bad loss at all this season. It's all one possession games or Baylor.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of wondering why you have, like, Tennessee ahead of Texas.
So I think part of that is that their wins are pretty similar. I think you can probably give a slight edge to Texas in the wins
for the Missouri
and Texas for the wins with West Virginia.
Texas.
Although Missouri, yeah, I mean those are very comparable. Like, and I think Tennessee obviously sitting at one less loss is nice, even if it is probably worse teams.
Yeah. Another team right behind them, West Virginia.
Yeah, so that actually I feel more strongly about because I did have Texas and Tennessee in the same tier.
Oh, okay.
So that was really like...
Also, like, I might as well just throw in Missouri as well.
I mean, I don't like Missouri. Every time I do my poll, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot Missouri, and I'm like, where do I put Missouri this week?
Yeah, but I understand that. Like, Missouri's, like, been such a weird team, but Tennessee's been equally weird.
Yeah, that's fair.
The whole SEC this year just feels like a complete anomaly. I don't know what to expect at all times.
And it seemed like there was going to be a top team in the SEC, and there just kind of isn't a top team in the SEC that's really like...
Yeah, I mean, obviously Alabama's like 10-1. They're 3 games ahead of anyone, but they just looked kind of beatable the other day against... They lost to Missouri. Missouri split the series with Tennessee. They beat Alabama. Tennessee lost to Alabama. Missouri... Obviously, they lost to Auburn and Mississippi State. I think they both beat Arkansas. Arkansas, they're a funny team this year. I almost ranked them actually. They're 1-5 in the quad one, but that's their only losses.
Yeah, exactly. They just don't. They haven't. Like, I was like, okay, well, they just haven't really failed much, but they're not.
But then Missouri's beaten Illinois, and like Tennessee. Their best win is Missouri, who Missouri also beat them. So.
Well, they beat Missouri by 20 on the road. I think their win over Missouri is more impressive than Missouri's win over them.
Yeah, but then like throw on like an Illinois win.
Yeah, no,
and then the Alabama win. I just think that like it's kind of I understand like having Tennessee that high, but I feel like you have them a little too high.
I mean, if we're just going purely based on resume, Missouri looks like one better team in the country. There's all their rate stats just look so bad. Like, I just can't move Missouri that much higher. And when I'm kind of splitting hairs between Missouri and Tennessee, that's where the stats come in. In terms of West Virginia,
I just don't know why you're splitting hairs. I don't know why you're going straight to the statistics when the resume just looks pretty different.
It's not. I mean, it's not what Missouri's best win is Alabama. Like Tennessee's best win.
They've beaten Illinois, Alabama, and beaten Tennessee.
That's true.
Missouri's only beaten Tennessee to this point, or Tennessee's only beaten Missouri to this point, and then what?
Arkansas,
they just don't have another win.
Kansas, it's just
Kansas is we've probably mentioned this a couple of times. They're falling off.
I get that they don't have a win as high end as Illinois, but they still it's not that it's still top 25 teams. Illinois is the 6th team in the country, but at this point I don't feel that much strongly. Unless you're beating Baylor or Gonzaga, I'm not like, wow, you just beat one the absolute best team in the country. Even if
well, you had Illinois at 5. That's That's a lot further than you have Missouri. And you just said you don't feel great about Missouri. So splitting a series as the best win,
Well, I don't feel that great about Illinois. Like, I just don't feel great about any team outside the top two. I don't think anyone's like really showing that there's like.
Yeah, but you got to also like still credit where you have them. You still got to say, okay, I have that team's like clearly better than this team. Like, I don't know.
The poll, I don't know. It just seems like there's so much like it's just like. Some team has to win every game, and Illinois has happened to be the team on top of a lot of games. I don't know if I consider Illinois any more of a contender than I consider like Tennessee or Texas or somewhere around that area.
Yeah, I know, but my point is, Tennessee, Tennessee's best win is Missouri.
Yeah,
like no question. Missouri's best win isn't Tennessee. Like they've played a team that's better than like those playing each other.
Yeah, but I'm not boiling their entire season down to one win.
I know, but I feel like you can go to the next win, and the next win, it's still
and if you go past the Illinois win, it just becomes very like you're like, oh my gosh, they beat a team like that's like in the mid-20s. Like it's not like they beat Alabama, which I have Alabama pretty high, but I definitely don't feel like once I get to number 10, I'm not like or number 9, I'm just there's so little gap between number 9 and number 19 to me basically. Okay, don't take that seriously because I know you hate Wisconsin, but like you get like number 9, number 18, how they like. Like it's just like it's not that like.
I don't know. I keep flip flopping on Tennessee. I'm back on they're just not good train. They have they're a defensive focused team, and that's definitely they were like ranked as the number 1 defense in the country, which obviously will help your Ken Palm no matter what.
Well, yeah, but then they're the 65th off. It's like it all just balances.
Yeah, so I just feel like if like. They weren't considered the best defense, but I feel like that defense doesn't always show up for Tennessee.
I mean,
I don't know. There's just teams that I think are better. So that's why I had them at, 17?
Yeah, I mean,
is there anyone that I had them
the only real suspect defensive performance is like they gave up 74 to Arkansas. Like it's like I don't know.
No, they have been like shutting out teams pretty well.
Kentucky 71. Like they haven't been giving up more than 75 points at all this season.
Well, no, they lost to Florida.
Oh, they lost to the.
They let up 75 to Florida, 71 to Missouri, 73 to Missouri, 71 to Alabama.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like Missouri's got the wins for that.
Yeah.
I'm not like trying to argue Missouri versus Tennessee because I don't have Missouri super high. It's just I have all 3 of those teams ranked ahead of them, and I also do have Florida State. That was kind of close. Florida State just hasn't played. Not much to argue about Florida State right now. And so I think they have only 3 losses. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty positive about that.
Let me just. Yes, they have 3 losses. Florida State.
And then the only bad one is UCF, really.
Yep.
Well, they're not. It's not. None of them are great, but.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I just feel like 12 is generous.
Yeah. No, I get that. I just think that's more reflective of like how little like really once I got to Texas Tech, I was just like, well, this is like.
Yeah, but I feel like if especially like this a season like this when everything seems so balanced, like the. Going straight to like metrics can also like be tough, just because like the metrics are going to be like kind of flawed based on like how like balanced all these teams are. And
there's assumptions the metrics makes that may not apply to this season. Like I know that the net rating is evaluating teams home and road wins in a way that just may not all be realistic for not having any fans in the stadium.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I say let's look at Tennessee's schedule this week. They are hosting Georgia and then at LSU. I mean, I'll definitely have them moving up if they win both those games, but I think even at LSU they're expected to win. So if they lose that, I might actually just drop them out.
Yeah,
that'll be
drop them out.
Not drop them out because also there's just like teams below them like Creighton that.
I mean, if they split this week, obviously they'd be a 5-loss team. They'd still be ahead of like a lot.
Yeah, actually, I kind of after Tennessee. I have in the same tier I have USC, and then after that I feel like it's a huge drop off to Virginia Tech.
Yeah, no, I feel that once I got to 19, I was really like, well, this is or 18, 19. I'm like,
yeah. So I say we talk about USC.
Yeah, there's not a huge amount to say about USC. They're playing the Pac-12, which isn't like a hugely
Yeah, they're not doing anything out of this world. They are just playing one of the easier conferences, and they're like not in, like they play an easy schedule, but it's still like good wins compared to like a Loyola Chicago who has like same amount of losses, 2 more wins. But like USC's wins are always going to be like a step ahead of like a Loyola Chicago.
Yeah, they got the Pac-12 wins over UCLA and Arizona. They played BYU with the non-conference schedule. Those are all solid wins.
Yeah, it would be.
Especially BYU by 26. That's
their losses. Oregon State's
that's
kind
bad.
of a gross loss, but Colorado's not absurd. Connecticut's not absurd.
Yep.
Because that's back when James Bouknight was playing for Connecticut. I don't think he was injured to that point. It's hard to put him super high, just because they don't have an absurd win. Their best win is like their just most recent. Like they 18-point win against UCLA, but we were fully determined that the loser of that was out, the winner of that game was in, and I didn't consider UCLA because they lost that game. So it's hard to. It's just there's no good team, so just having 3 losses.
3 losses, 2 of them to good team, or at least tournament threat, like teams that may make the tournament.
Yeah.
Colorado would probably make the tournament. I'm a little less sure about Connecticut at this point.
Yeah, Connecticut's like a bubble team, but they were a tournament team back when they.
But Colorado's a tournament team. Like
yeah. USC's also 13 in KenPom, and I think they are 15 in the net. So
and 14 in simple rating system. So they're doing really well in all those stats. The AP poll had them at 20, so they're like clearly a little bit lower on them than we are, but still there's not a huge amount to like really push with USC. It's just kind of a lack of. It's another team that just kind of has lacked real failure, and has some solid wins to like kind of round out their resume. Yeah, I think that they're just the Oregon State loss is keeping them from being like if they won that they'd be, what would their record be? They'd be 16-2. Yeah, so they might be like a top 15 team if they not lost. Oh, I think almost certainly. I mean, yeah. That's what's holding them back. There's nothing holding them like really far, like keeping them out. That was like keeping them out until they beat UCLA. Yep, and they'll get a chance to redeem themselves against Colorado later in the season. So there's the Pac. There's not a huge amount of threat in the Pac-12. Yeah, at this point, so you had them at 16. I had them at 18. Yeah. The poll had them at 20, but they still had them like shooting up. No, I think all 3 of us didn't have them ranked. Yep, no, they were not ranked, yeah. Or no, you had them in your others considered. Because I had them at 25 the week before that, but yeah. Yeah, so they just like kind of shot up just due to like the teams losing and them beating like a relevant team. Yep. Yeah, I say there's not really too much more to talk about then. I say we talk about Wisconsin. Yeah, sounds good. I hate Wisconsin. I hate them. They haven't done anything. They're just like, it's frustrating. It's really frustrating. They beat Loyola Chicago, might be their best win. That is, yeah, probably. Because Louisville. Well, who knows how good Loyola Chicago is, though. Yeah, but then, like the AP poll wants to rank them. I don't know how the AP poll can put them above Xavier. That's for a different time. I think there's a few quality wins on the resume, though. They beat Rutgers. They beat. I don't have Rutgers ranked yet. Well, yeah, I mean, sure, but don't rank Rutgers. But beating Rutgers on the road, that's still a tournament team on the road. They crushed Louisville. They crushed Loyola Chicago, which even if you don't agree that they deserve to be ranked, they're still a tournament team this year, and they demolished them. I mean, obviously they failed when they're like placed up against like the actual best teams in the conference. Well, if you think about it, they've only played the 3 of the best teams. Like, yeah. It's not like West Virginia, Texas, Oklahoma. Those teams, they're like all their losses are to just like the best teams in the Big 12. Wisconsin's only lost to 3 of the top teams. They've lost to Maryland, they've lost to Penn State, and they've lost to Marquette this season. Yeah. It's really underwhelming. I feel like all I heard coming into the season was Wisconsin was going to just kill everyone with a 3. They're 70th in 3-point percentage. I checked that earlier this morning. They've been wildly underwhelming. They have 6 losses. It might be absurd for me to put St. John's ahead of them. That was just kind of on a recency bias for them beating Villanova, but there's just nothing Wisconsin has done this season has impressed me. They're 21th in the AP poll, or 21st in the AP poll. You had them 19. I had them
27th, I guess.
Oh yeah.
It's just Wisconsin hasn't done anything.
Yeah, no, I mean their wins are not incredibly credible, but they're beating the teams that I have lower than them for like mostly, or they have wins over the teams I have lower than them. Like they beat, like the Rutgers win especially, and the Louisville win. It's not a huge there's not a huge amount to love about Wisconsin. There's 6 losses. I kind of went on a run of Big Ten teams at that point where I'm like, well, damn, like I might as well if you're just doing pretty well in the Big Ten, there's not a huge amount going on with the teams below that for me to really latch on to.
I don't know how they're still 16th in net.
No.
It's just confusing.
Yeah, that is pretty odd because
I think it might have to do with just how much they killed Louisville by. And that's just one game that's inflating their scores, I feel like. KenPom has them still pretty high, I think.
I mean, that puts them
KenPom has them at 11th.
That has them as the 5th best team in the Big Ten, which I think that's you what do you think Purdue's better than them?
No, I didn't rank Purdue either.
Yeah, so I think 5th best team in the Big Ten seems about right.
Yeah, I think I'm not losing faith in the Big Ten because obviously they have some of the top teams in the country, and then their middle teams like Maryland, Indiana, Penn State. Those are still really good teams. It's just they lost to too many of those kind of guys, in my opinion. And then Marquette is literally where even is Marquette this year? At this point, I don't even know what Marquette's done.
St. John's also lost to Marquette.
Yeah, that is true. I really just put St. John's on the win and did not even look at any of their losses. I will say that right now.
They lost to Georgetown too. Just FYI.
Hey, Georgetown is
5-9 in the Big East, Max. No, Georgetown is bad.
Marquette 102nd ranked in the net.
Yeah, still better than Georgetown.
All right, well, I put in Arkansas before I put in Wisconsin.
Okay, fine. But St. John's though. Anyway, yeah. So I don't I'm not really feeling Wisconsin. I just got towards the end of my rankings, and I'm like, well,
Yeah, well, you called out some teams that I had ahead of them. I'll call out Virginia Tech. What's your argument for Wisconsin being? I feel like we actually talk about Virginia Tech, Wisconsin a lot on this podcast. I don't know why. They just always kind of end up in the same area. What is Virginia Tech why is Wisconsin better than Virginia Tech in your opinion?
Well, I mean, Virginia Tech, they have the Virginia win, and then they have nothing.
They beat Villanova. You keep forgetting that win. They beat
fine.
Also beat Clemson.
They beat Villanova in overtime in the second game of the season. Yeah, okay, great. Sure.
They have 3 wins better than maybe Wisconsin's best win.
What,
other than
who would you put at number 3?
I like Clemson better than Rutgers at this point in the season.
You're insane.
I don't think that's insane.
Rutgers. Okay, fine. Rutgers on the road is better than Clemson, though.
Okay, that's fair, but still, that's all right. 2 better than their first best win. Villanova, UVA. Those are 2 teams that we consensus said were top 10 teams.
Fine, but I
think 4 losses.
the
Wisconsin has 6.
I think the Louisville win is still more impressive than anything that Virginia Tech has done. They beat. It's an overtime win and a decent win against Virginia. That's it. And then they have
that's absurd.
They lost to Pittsburgh. They lost to Syracuse by 18. They lost to Louisville. They lost to Penn State by 20.
They lost 2 points on the road. All right, just for time purposes, I think we're gonna get into some games. Ohio State. We already talked about them kind of, but they just play Maryland and Indiana is our week.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we should really dive into that. There's more important stuff to talk about. The first good game of the week, first ranked teams playing each other is Tuesday. West Virginia is going to Texas Tech. West Virginia, I feel like I've been ranting about how they need to prove themselves. This week is their prove it week. They're at Texas Tech, and then they host Oklahoma.
Yeah.
The game against Kansas was a good one. We watched a little bit of that one. But I feel like I haven't really sat down and watched the West Virginia game. So it'll definitely be interesting to sit down and watch that.
Yeah, it's part of the issue. They haven't played a ton of great teams in competitive games.
Yeah, I guess they were just had a very backloaded schedule.
Yeah, that
seems like
that's definitely fair. Yeah, it's those 2 games both are interesting. They're not. It's if whatever team comes out of that undefeated basically is probably in the top 10 next week.
Yeah, definitely. If West Virginia can sweep those,
yeah,
they might jump a Virginia team that doesn't have a tough week or. someone like that.
Yeah, and that would be a big win for both Texas Tech or Oklahoma. So
exactly, that would like secure Texas Tech as like a top like 8 team, and Oklahoma would have like more of an argument for a top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the first game's Tuesday, at I think that's at Texas Tech, and the second is West Virginia hosting Oklahoma on Saturday. I say we talk about Villanova's at Creighton. I think these two teams we have been harping on. They need to play someone.
I don't even think Creighton's really someone anymore. But
I feel like if like Villanova beats Creighton, people might just go, honestly, not even a great win. Like
at that point, is any team in the Big East good?
I think it'll be a road win, which will still like.
Yeah, you're right. It's a solid road win. It's not like Creighton's like awful. I mean, I'm still just like,
if Creighton could beat Villanova, then
there you go. Stay in the rankings.
Yep, they'll stay in the rankings. Villanova will probably take a tumble out of the top 10. They won't have.
I thought the Villanova was going to drop harder than they did, and even I was like, shit.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what's going on.
Yeah.
Ahead of them, there's not too many competitive top or 2 ranked teams playing this week. So I mean, obviously, maybe they lose and they don't drop as far because like the whole West Virginia games madness going on.
Yeah, Tech could lose that. Virginia's playing UNC, which is one of the best teams. That's probably like the best team Virginia's played this season, besides like Clemson or Gonzaga, obviously. But have they gotten
their Florida State draw yet?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Florida State's barely played basketball. I'm like,
yeah, that is true.
I'm positive Virginia has not played Florida State at this point.
Yeah, so that'll be.
So yeah, it really depends on what happens below Villanova, but that could be a loss that moves them out. Depends on if obviously that's a loss they'd have to actually lose, but.
All right. Also Sunday.
Saturday, Sunday.
No, I think we'll talk about that last.
Okay.
Sunday we got Michigan is going to Wisconsin.
Yep.
Michigan's first game.
Hopefully.
We joke about how Michigan is just trying to avoid anything. They canceled their game against Illinois on Tuesday,
which would have been easily the best game of the week if it had actually happened.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that's. We haven't gotten. I mean, you don't get too many top 6 like battles.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with the star power in Illinois, Michigan is
like pretty top. Like there's like 3 like really good players on Michigan's team.
Hunter Dickinson is one of the best freshmen in the country.
Yep. So I feel like, that would have been. We joke about how Michigan just was like, we can't play both of these in the same week. Obviously, we're an Ohio State podcast, so they canceled their game against us for football. So we joke about it. We're worried that they might cancel the basketball game as well.
Everyone's going to be like, oh, they weren't ready because they haven't played basketball in a month. Well, maybe they should have considered playing basketball in the last month. They're ready for play basketball today.
Yeah, I don't even think the outbreak that was in the athletic department even touched the basketball team.
I'm pretty sure there are no known cases on their basketball team. Maybe someone did. Maybe there's like...
Maybe it's someone close to the team, but we're not going to like COVID shame, but it seems like...
It's just disappointing. It's obviously like they're doing what's best for their program. It's just disappointing with teams like Baylor and Gonzaga just constantly missing games that... Yeah, like, those are the teams I want to see play basketball at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Even Baylor was supposed to have a crazy week. None of that's going to get played.
Exactly. That's really all the best games of the week were taken out by COVID.
Oh yeah, I would have if Baylor swept that. They would have been number 1 consensus for me.
Okay.
And then Wisconsin, obviously for them this is a big one because as I talked about pretty profusely, they just haven't beaten a top team yet.
Yep.
If they lose this game to Michigan at home by like a severe margin. Actually, how much would they have to lose by, like, to stay in your rankings, or would you kick out Wisconsin?
Well, Wisconsin play this week is kind of the question with that one.
Yeah, I mean that would also be Wisconsin's 7th loss to this point.
Yeah, but I have Purdue in there, and you have St. John's in there, so clearly that's not completely restrictive. Okay, they play Nebraska. That's irrelevant.
Yeah.
That would probably knock them out, or at least I don't know.
What would your scoring margin have to be to knock them out? Like how much would they have to lose by? I mean, obviously, this is like very...
It's very hypothetical. I think it would probably have to be a double-digit loss for me to move Wisconsin out, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
So 7 losses with no, like, good win. Like, Purdue's beaten us.
That's true. You're right.
St. John's beaten Villanova.
Okay, so they would definitely move behind Rutgers and Purdue. They'd move behind Florida. I think the question is, the 25 spot was just, like... I put Creighton at 25 this week, and I just, like, kind of, like...
If Creighton wins, then they might...
If obviously Creighton wins, Oklahoma State... Like, I think they would move down to 25 if Creighton... I think... Wisconsin could realistically get my 25 spot, but that's more just about how bad the 25 spot is. Although that brings us to the other weekend series, which is if Loyola Chicago sweeps Drake this weekend, I'd probably move them into my top 25.
Yeah, so Loyola Chicago replaced Drake as the whatever conference they're in. Is that Missouri Valley Conference
I think so.
Are they in the OWC?
I think it's the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, Missouri Valley Conference. I was right on the first one. So yeah, Drake was in. They lost to an irrelevant team, so they're out. Loyola Chicago came in. I guess the poll really just wants to put in some small conference team in. I don't know. It'll be fun. I'm gonna watch it because I haven't seen Drake or them Loyola play.
Even if either of those teams sweeps that series, I think that's a reasonable time to rank either of those teams.
Yeah, because that's finally like a team that's been ranked.
If I split those series, both of them stay on.
Oh yeah, no, they can really negate each other. It'll be interesting.
And they're both in Drake, so I mean, it's actually, I don't know. It's an interesting weekend of Missouri Valley. It's literally as interesting as Missouri Valley could be for a weekend.
Yeah, no, this is going to be like, tickets are as low as 153. I'm seeing on the StubHub thing for ESPN. Obviously, it's probably because of COVID, but
hey, it's a hot ticket right now.
It's the big Missouri Valley Conference.
If you are living in the Missouri Valley, you are all about Loyola Chicago.
These teams are on a crash course for the finals of the Missouri Valley Conference. Oh my goodness.
Hey man, I think you're sleeping on Missouri State.
No, I will stay slept on them. That is, yeah. Well, I think that's probably going to do it.
I mean, I think to be the BYU Gonzaga game.
Oh yeah, that's another one to point out on a Monday night. Yep. Obviously, we don't usually post the podcast till Tuesday night, the video portion. I think we're going to start doing SoundCloud. You might be listening on SoundCloud right now. Try to get that out on Monday night just so it's like more relevant. So, like the Gonzaga game right now, like you might have already watched that if you're listening to this. So, but that is going to be a pretty interesting game. It's Gonzaga's only shot left.
Yeah, it's as interesting as Gonzaga basketball gets for the rest of the season.
Truthfully, I don't know how much Gonzaga I've watched, so I would like to watch that.
Exactly.
Game.
Since the very beginning of the season where I saw that Iowa game, which, like, even at that point I was like, and I saw the Kansas game too, I guess, but that it's been so long, and it seems like a lot of their players are just, like, going crazy right now. Like, we obviously didn't do our Wooden Award, but I was doing a little looking. I was considering moving Drew Timme into my top 5.
Yeah, no, they're just so well rounded.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see how all these guys are playing. Jalen Suggs is playing again. Like it should be a fun game. Maybe Gonzaga's just blowing them out by the end of the first half, but
yep. So I think that's gonna do it. So yeah, just watch some basketball and we'll talk about some of the games, some of the big games, some of the big upsets next week. So thanks for listening.